Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for another episode of the Leadership Toolkit. As you know, this show is designed just to be able to help you grow as a leader. It's the definitive leadership podcast out there. So you can tune in, you can learn from people's successes, you can learn from their failures, you can learn what you should do, you can learn hopefully what to avoid and what you shouldn't do as you are continuing your leadership journey. Each week, I speak to leaders from multiple different areas of business, all different facets from all over the globe, and have conversations on what it is that made them successful. So you have an opportunity to listen in, take notes, and grow yourself, and then ultimately grow your team and the people that are around you. So today, what I'm going to cover, I'm going to be diving into some things that I've learned from several different interviews in this past 2 years now that I've been doing this podcast. So today, what I titled the show is 5 actionable practices that anyone can take to help up their leadership game. And what we're just going to talk about, we'll just dive into it briefly. Certainly, if you've got comments, you want to have conversations, you can share those in the side. I've put it out there to a few folks. If you wanted to jump in and have a conversation on the show, it is a live show. We're happy to sit and have that conversation with you. So let's talk about it today. Some things that I've learned from really good leaders. I've had just the pleasure of interviewing some absolutely phenomenal people over the last couple of years, more than 100 guests, and all different experiences, all different backgrounds, and all different areas of business. But there are a lot of common threads that run through regardless of what the area of business is. So like I said, we're going to talk about 5 actionable things that you can do. First off, let's dive in here and start with my number one. Number one that we're going to talk about is lead with intentionality, not by default. And so, what you want to start doing, this is something you can take action on right now. Just take 5 minutes each morning to clarify what is your intention for the day. What do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to impact? How do you want to approach and pursue the day? And then the people that you come in contact with, right? You have so often, every one of us has influence. And regardless of what level of influence you think you have, people are watching, you're influencing and affecting people. You're either helping to improve their day, or sometimes you're not improving their day. And ultimately, we want to affect people for good. We want to have positive change. We want to have people that are excited and motivated. And so it's important that when you're asking, who will I impact? How will I impact these people? The first person that you have to impact, the first person that you have to show intentionality to is yourself. So that's why I'm saying just take 5 minutes in the morning, help to clarify, how do I want to have this day? And keeping in mind, great leaders don't wing this. They don't just go out there and they go, well, the day started, here we go, right? They have some sort of either mental checklist, physical checklist. Some of them start the night before. I've talked with many people with many different processes, but they don't just go and let the day affect them however it affects them. They operate with clarity, they operate with purpose, they operate with focus. And whether it's setting the tone of a meeting or maybe making difficult decisions, having difficult conversations, they are deliberate with the direction from the very start of where they're headed. Hey, this is how I'm going to affect my day. And keep in mind, intentionality, as we talk about this, is something that sets apart the best leaders and the best managers from those that are just average. Because that's something I think we can fall into the trap as leaders, as managers in our businesses. We watch those people that came before us, right? And inevitably, it's human nature, we start to emulate them. And so often, the people that came before us are not there for 2 reasons. One is they've gone on to pursue something greater. So those could be somebody that's good to follow, or they've moved on because they were not the right fit, or weren't doing things well. And so it's up to you to have some discernment and determine which one of these leaders is it that I'm following, and have the intentionality with each day so that you're taking that purpose and direction and have clarity so that you can lead yourself first and then lead your team. The second thing we're going to talk about right now, it's called tactical empathy. And I've heard this said several times on this show. I've multiple leadership experts, multiple consultants and managers that I've interviewed have said you have to practice tactical empathy when you're a leader. And so what you might do in your next one-on-one or in your team meeting, and I feel like I have a few of the people that work for me, tuned in and watching today. I know um, it's important to ask really good questions. Things like, what's one thing I might not be seeing that would help you succeed right now? And then you have to be quiet. You have to listen without interrupting. You have to give them an opportunity to respond. See, so often as leaders, we'll ask the question or a question, hey, what can I do to help make your day better? What's something that I can do to help improve your job satisfaction? What's something that I might not be seeing that I could help you improve right now? And then, because by nature we're these type A personality leaders, right, we start to inject our own answer into the question that we just asked. And so it's really important that when you're having these conversations with the people that work with you and the people that work for you, if you're going to ask something that can help improve somebody else's job satisfaction, you're going to ask something that will allow them to improve their day, that you really stop and listen. Practice that tactical empathy to say, hey, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but the only way we can truly understand somebody is to really tune in and listen to what it is that they're saying. So it's important we practice that tactical empathy. And one of the things that's so important in numerous interviews, I've had leaders that have said, hey, you've got to listen, you have to practice empathy, you have to sit on the side where somebody else is coming from, because that creates trust. And trust, when you have a trusted relationship in business, that drives performance, right? If somebody knows that I will have their back, they will perform better. It's just, again, it's one of those pieces that it's human nature. Hey, I know that Mike, my leader, or Joe, my leader, or whoever the person that is leading in the situation, or my manager, right? Um, then they'll put forth the effort to do well for you. And it's not that we're being soft or weak or mushy or wishy-washy. Oh, hey, what's the thing that I can do? As if we don't have some input as leaders or some decision making. It's truly that you really care about the person's well-being and what can help them to improve and make moves in business. And the reality is this too: there's no replacement for genuine human caring. There's not a replacement for genuine human caring, and people will know that. So, and being genuine, being caring about someone, that's not a strategy. It's part of a character trait, right? It's who you are. If I'm going to be caring about somebody and I show them genuine empathy and I listen to them, they perform because of who you are and because of the character. It's not because I'm trying to manipulate a situation and use that as a business strategy. Ben over here says it does something else too. Is it gives you new perspective and helps make better decisions. It's true. If you take the time to just stop and listen, because I've heard it said, I've heard many different studies that 90% of our thoughts are the same day to day and only 10% get replaced, or 95%, or depending on who you ask in psychology. But we have this model of the world and the lens that we look through to run ourselves, to develop ourselves, to run businesses, to lead our families, to do all of these things. And if we truly slow down and ask good questions and show empathy to other people, slow down and listen, then it gives you genuinely new perspective. You have to, the only way you can do that is to listen. And I've shared this before on the show. I had a mentor that told me one time, he says, you can't possibly be listening to what I have to say if your answer is right on the tip of your tongue the whole time. Right? If you're having a conversation with somebody and I'm just right on the edge of my seat waiting to answer, I've got processes going on in here to be able to try and answer that question. And you can't be listening and thinking of your response at the same time. So once you've laid that out there for somebody, you need to stop and truly listen to what it is that they have to say. The third one here that I've got today, and again, we're talking about 5 actionable practices that you can take right now today to improve your leadership game. The third one is give unprompted specific praise. So here's what I would tell you to start doing. Each week, intentionally recognize at least one team member for something they did well, and be specific. Not just, hey, great job, high five, you're cool, you're the best, right? But take the time to give them specifics that, hey, the way you handled XYZ client was just incredible. It showed such patience, it showed such poise and such listening, or whatever that thing would be. Take the time to give genuine and unprompted specific praise. And that Ben will appreciate this. He's put something in the sidebar. He says, "Yes, right." Raised hands. Um, we have a friend, Ian McLeod. He's a friend of the show. He's been on here several times. And it's so funny because he posts a lot of different business memes and stuff on his page. Ben, you'll appreciate this as well. Where it's like, oh, hey, great job, team. We're going to do a pizza party, right? It becomes so numb, and it becomes just so numb and norm, let's call it, right? That nobody cares. It's one thing if it's a genuine, celebration once in a while, whatever that looks like. We did. I mean, at my job, the gals that work with me, just last week, in celebration of 4th of July and a job well done, a good month, those sorts of things. They wanted to arrange a night ice cream social, and so everybody went out and bought ice cream and bought ice cream cones and sprinkles and all the other stuff. And it's one of those small activities. And it's like, yes, it's not the pizza party, but everybody got behind it because they got to spend the time planning it also. It was planning and participating and genuine human connection that was created. And I think that's part of the message. When we're giving that specific praise, it creates that really genuine connection and says, hey, you're important. I'm paying attention to you, and I see what you did, and you're excellent, and here's why. And so it's just so important to go after that. And it needs to be, you need to go deep. It's not just the high five, great job, buy a coffee or whatnot, but what are the specific reasons? And just keeping in mind, recognition fuels people's morale, right? When they know that you see them, like you truly see them, that they're seen, they're heard, they're important and valued, then that it increases morale, and it models it. You help to model or acknowledge the modeled behavior that you want repeated, so that you can continue to recognize that, and don't ever let it become numb. Don't ever get numb to those things. There's so much value when people do a good job. So let's see. Number 4. We're on number 4 of 5 actionable practices that anyone can start doing. Anyone can start doing this stuff. This doesn't take specific leadership skills. It doesn't even take a title, right? You don't have to have a leadership title. You can, wherever you're at, you can do any of these things. So let's see. Ben says, and when you say, hey, that was great, they'll do that thing again. He says, I was literally typing it as you said it. Yeah. When you like what gets reinforced gets repeated. It's the same thing with staff members. It's the same things with your kids. For anybody out there that are parents, if what gets reinforced gets repeated. So reinforce the right things. Number 4, let me scroll over here. Ask clarifying questions before giving advice. I am so I used to not be good at this, I will say. I was a master of unsolicited advice, and I would openly and happily tell people that, hey, listen, let me give you some unsolicited advice. Let me tell you how to do this without doing any research, knowing anything about you, knowing anything about the situation. Let me tell you what works. And that's so bad, right? You have to slow down and ask clarifying questions. So when someone comes to you with a problem, because when we're in leadership roles, so often people will come to us with problems, right? They come and say, hey, they have this problem. And keep in mind, the reason you're in a leadership or a management role, part of the reason that you made it in that position, probably one of the traits that you have is that you have been known to be a problem solver. And so you, when we get through these spaces in business and you came with solutions on your own and those sorts of things, not everybody is wired that way. And so it's not about giving people the answer or the answer that you think is right. It's about slowing down and looking at the whole situation. And you allow people when they say, "Hey, I've got this whatever XYZ problem." Ben says, "What exactly do you mean?" Yeah, LOL, right? I'm such a master of unsolicited advice. I have to slow myself down, and that's not necessarily a bad trait. Let me be clear with this. People that are, when you're in a leadership or a management role, giving advice is not a bad thing. People come to you because they know you care, they know you have experience, and they have respect for you. So that part is the good part. Don't fall short and just start giving advice. Oh, well, let me tell you how I would do it. When someone comes to you with a problem, I've said this 3 times. Ask questions such as, "Hey, can you help me understand what the solution might look like for you? Can you help me understand what success looks like for you in this situation? Can can you clarify for me what you mean when you say this thing isn't working?" And get them to slow down and be a part of the solution with you, not for you, but then you're not solely acting on your own. You know, before you just jump in and start offering the solutions, it's so important to get them to participate so that they don't tell you one thing, "Oh, hey, I have a problem with this." And you start telling them how to fix the problem and they go, "Well, no, that's not exactly what's happening." So then they have to start clarifying on their own. Slow down and show that you care by asking them first. You know, there are many of my toolkit guests that have been on and talked about, they've emphasized, and you guys have all heard this, the power of curiosity in leadership. We got to be curious. We got to ask questions. We got to want to understand people. We've got to want to understand problems. We got to be able to want to understand our position. And the only way that you can do that is to be curious about situations, about people. That's what will help you move from being a fixer to being a guide. I think it was just last week, I had a guest on the show and he was talking about, Brad was talking about, fire drill. You're a fire drill team. When people come to you all the time, "Oh my gosh, we got this problem. We got to figure this out. And we got to figure this out. And this has to be done." And he shared a great story. He says that he had one of his key personnel come to him and she says, "Oh my gosh, we got to have this white paper written. I got to have it right away. It has to be done. We've got to do this. And we got to be able to present it to the client." And simply because he slowed down, he says, "Okay, well, when do you need this done by?" That was the first question. Because if someone comes to me and says, "Oh my gosh, I got to get all this done. This has to be done right away. We've got this white paper to write. We got everything done." And his first question was, "Well, by when?" Because to me, I would think it's like tomorrow morning. She says, "Well," and I'm relaying his story, his experience. He says, "Well, I need it within the next 3 weeks." He says, "Okay, great. And how long do you need this white paper to be?" And he's thinking, "I got to write this 10-page white paper." And she says, "Well, it's at least 2 to 3 pages so that we can have it clear." Oh, okay. Well, it gives you a whole different perspective, right? I'm either up all night writing 10 pages of a white paper to try and present to a client tomorrow, or I'm actually taking the time to slow down and write a really quality 2 or 3 page white paper that I can present to my client in a timely fashion 3 weeks from now. Which do you think is going to give you a better outcome? And so it's really important to ask those questions. The other thing that this does, when you ask clarifying questions, it doesn't just create followers, because if all you're doing is providing the advice all the time, that's your fire drill mentality. They come to you for the solution, you give them the solution, they move on. By slowing down and asking questions, it forces them to think, forces the individual that you're engaging with to think. It creates thinkers, not just followers, right? So it's very valuable. That's number 4, to ask those clarifying questions. And the last thing we're going to talk about today on the leadership toolkit, this is one I've been working on so heavily myself right now. And I titled this Own the mirror moment each day. Own the mirror moment each day. So at the end of the day, and I just wrote a journal page for myself to ask this question every day. At the end of the day, sit down and journal, and you might write down this question: where did I lead well today? It's question one. Where did I fall short? And then third, what can I do to improve? Where did I lead well? Where did I fall short? What can I do to improve? That's what I say, or that's what I call owning the mirror moment, right? We have to take a moment to look back, see where it is, and then where can I improve? That's the looking forward. I've heard it said, I'm in the car business, right? So it's one of those pieces that it's like, hey, the windshield is 100 times bigger than the rear view mirror. It's more important to look forward at where you're going than in the rear view mirror at where you've been. At the same time, there's purpose and there's value to the rear view mirror. Sometimes you need to be able to see behind you so that you can make that lane shift, right? Sometimes you need to be able to see behind you to know if that car that you passed is far enough back so that you can make the next turn or whatever it may be. And so just keeping in mind when we're talking about these mirror moments, the daily reflection, self-awareness is the gateway to growth. If you want to grow the most, and certainly include any of these things, right? Hey, here's 5 things that anybody you take action on them, you're going to be a better leader. To me, this is the most important because if you take the action to reflect on what did I do well today? What do I think that I could improve on? And where did I fall short? Where can I improve? And so if I'm doing that every single day and not in a negative way, right? Look at the good things first. Be realistic. And there's going to be some days that you say, man, everything that I did, I crushed it today. Today felt great. It was a good day. I felt so productive. And there's going to be days that you might say, man, I don't know where the time went. And I would bet the days that you say, I don't know where the time went, it's because you didn't start off with that 5 minutes that I said at number one, which is to lead with intentionality. Take the 5 minutes to define the day, right? Take the 5 minutes to be clear on the direction and the path that you're headed. You know, I will tell you, leaders that build the habit of personal reflection, leaders that build the habit of looking in the mirror will always improve faster, stay grounded, and make better decisions under pressure because when you take the time to look at it and really, if you can do that for other people, think about this for a moment. If you're in a leadership role and a management role, we talked about this, right? Asking clarifying questions, giving advice, coaching, leading, managing people. If you can do that for others, how valuable do you think it would be to take the time once a day to do that for yourself? And so often we lose sight of that. So often we lose sight of it. I've lost sight of it from time to time. Like, hey, let me pinpoint and point all the fingers and tell everybody, well, hey, you need to do this and you need to do that and we need to do this. Well, when you're pointing at other people, and you've heard me say this before, that means you got fingers pointed back at yourself, and you might take a moment to sit and reflect and ask those 3 questions, which are, what did I do well today? Where did I lead well today? Where did I fall short? And then what can I do moving forward to improve? So that, my friends, that's the message for today. Those are 5 things that I would encourage anybody. It does not matter where you're at in your leadership journey. Does not matter if you just moved into a staff role at a new job. If you do these 5 things, it will make you a better leader and it will improve your life. I am absolutely confident of that. So I'm going to rip back through them real quick. Number 1, lead with intentionality, not by default, right? You have to be intentional with the day. What's the start doing? Take 5 minutes every morning to clarify your intention. Number 2, practice tactical empathy. And like I said, in your one-on-ones or your team meetings, ask questions. What's something I could do to help improve your success for today? Number 3, give unprompted specific praise. That means each week, acknowledge one or more team members for the specific thing that they did great, not just a high five and a hug, right? What was that specific task that they just crushed it at? And acknowledge that and praise publicly too. That's the other thing. When you're going to tell someone they're awesome, catch them and tell them they're awesome, but tell everybody else they're awesome too. Number 4, make sure you ask clarifying questions before giving advice. Like we said, just make sure and clarify. Hey, can you help me understand where it is that we're headed with this? Can you tell me when this is due by? Do you know how long it needs to be? Simple clarifying questions. And number 5, own the mirror moment each day. Take the time to reflect and coach yourself as much as you will coach anybody else. So that's going to close us out. I guess it could have been a shorter video, could have been a 5-minute video, but I spent time to really lay out the path on a lot of these. And so I appreciate all of you so much. The fans and friends of the Leadership Toolkit. We got, Ben said, just send me the link. Love it all. Right. Matt, who's a friend of the show, he's been on several times. Great info. Keep in mind, some of this info, Matt, you and I have had discussions on. I'm a master of RNC, research and copy. I don't have an R&D department, right? So he says, bingo, mirror moment. We're not talking about bingo, like volunteer for bingo. That's a different discussion. So again, thank you everybody for taking the time to tune in and join me today on the Leadership Toolkit. Do me a favor. One thing that will definitely help this show grow is throw some thumbs up on it. Doesn't matter which platform you're watching on. If you are listening on iTunes or Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, or you're catching the show on Facebook, throw some thumbs up on the show, because when you do that, it tells the algorithm that you like the show. Maybe you like me, you certainly like the message, and that's going to help the show grow. And the other thing, and the most important, if you know somebody that would benefit from hearing the message that I shared today, if you know somebody that wants to move into a leadership role and says, man, I just need to know where to start with these 5 things. If you know somebody that's in a leadership role and maybe needs a kick in the tuchus, as they say, and needs a reminder of where they came from, share these 5 things with them. That's what I want to encourage you. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to tune in and join me today on the Leadership Toolkit. I'll see you next Wednesday here live, 12:05 Mountain Time, 2:05 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk soon, everyone. Until then, stay great.